Today we're going to talk about 3 ways that we can lower blood sugar after meals. Excuse me. 3 relatively easy ways that we can do that. And in today's society, many folks are dealing with being pre-diabetic. Many people are type 2 diabetic. And even just having numbers that are inching in that direction is not good for health span and longevity, which brings on a whole slew of illnesses and diseases when that number creeps up too high and it's out of control. So this is a simple way that we can help ourselves to benefit, and we're going to talk about that because glucose disposal is vital when it comes to these things. Now, the worst thing you can do after a meal, and it's kind of a default for the majority of us, is to go sit down and watch TV or scroll on your phone. Um, Worse than that, even go lay down, because the, the processes that are going to begin relatively quickly, we have about a 30-minute window before the glucose goes into places that aren't going to benefit us or help us. So we have that 30-minute window, and we want to make a habit, a lifetime habit, of doing some of these things that we're going to talk about today. One of the newer ones that has come to light in research is muscle contraction. So what does that entail? Well, the biggest glucose sink in our bodies is our muscles. So just on a side note, that should be part of our daily and weekly routines, is trying to build muscle, where maybe you're not trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we all can add a little muscle. And certainly you want to have enough protein to do that. And protein comes into play as well in that it fills us up in our meals. So when we have our meals, we want to have protein, not only to build muscle, but it fills us up so that we're not reaching for snacks later in the evening, and especially sugary snacks. And by the way, that's another thing that can affect us. If we have a meal and right away go for a sugary coffee drink or a dessert, we're just piling bad on top of each other. So keep those things in mind. But muscle contraction can activate glucose uptake. So the biggest glucose sink in our body, it's not our liver, it's not our fat cells, it's muscle. So keep that in mind all the time. But primarily we're talking after our meals, where muscle contraction can be another way to soak up that glucose or to put it to use in a better way in our bodies. So let me run through those 3 quickly, and we'll talk about these things more. What has been researched in recent years, and many people understand, is a 10-minute walk after you eat is truly beneficial. Now, not everybody has that opportunity where they are at work or at a restaurant, the weather, whatever. Sometimes that might not always be practical. But now, muscle contraction, that's one that everyone can do, and it doesn't take more than a minute or two to take care of that. And the other one we've talked about in other videos is just light movements, whether it could be marching in place while you're swinging your arms, air squats. Doesn't have to be crazy. We're not talking super intensity here, but just movement. And when it comes to the muscle contractions, an easy one, and I just had a recent video short on this, is wall squats. Holding that for 30 to 60 seconds activates the muscles in your legs, and it's going to have a powerful impact. So when we talk about the 3 ways, it's 10-minute walking, muscle contraction, or just light movement if we're at home, walking around a little bit, some air squats, moving your arms around, getting up and down out of a chair without using your arms. And again, it doesn't require massive intensity, it just requires constant movement. And we want to do it early on. Like I said, you have about a 30-minute window to be able to do this, because blood sugar begins rising roughly about 15 or 20 minutes after we eat. And it peaks at about 45 minutes to 75 minutes. So you don't want to get distracted and, okay, I'm going to start in about 10-15 minutes, and you go sit down and you forget about it, or you're distracted and you don't end up doing it. Doesn't mean that you have to drop your fork and drop and do push-ups right away instantly as you get out of the chair, but relatively soon after eating, want to make it a habit to start to do some of these things. One extra little trick we'll mention right now, but I'll try to mention it again a little later, is some new research talking about the soleus muscle, and that's a little muscle down by our calves in the back where our calves are. And research has shown just doing heel raises, so you could be sitting, like if you're at work and not able to do some of these other things, just doing heel raises, calf raises basically, can also have the same effect. Actually, I believe some of the numbers says it reduced the sugar spike by about 52%. So that's a powerful little tool to have in the toolbox. Again, even at home, you could incorporate this with the other activities that we might want to do. Now, I'm not a doctor or scientist, and I know I've mentioned that before in other videos, but I have a theory that kind of plays in, and then others have talked about it, so it's not like I'm making up something new. But think about your 3 meals of the day. Hopefully, and many folks fall into this category, early in the morning, your breakfast, it can generally be healthier and smaller, so maybe you don't need the full 10 minutes. And research has shown that even just something as simple as 2 minutes of walking around your house, doing some chores, doing the dishes, vacuuming, whatever it is, can have some benefit. That's important to keep in mind. We don't want to look at it as an all or nothing success and failure, because we can't be optimal at everything 100% of the time. So even in this area, when it comes to breakfast, if it's smaller and healthier, can you get 5 minutes in, maybe 3 minutes of walking, maybe 30 seconds of a wall squat, do some marching in place. Something that hasn't been talked about here, again, this is going to be my theory. I love bodybuilding, and many people think bodybuilding, the flexing and posing that they do, is just vanity, but it's actually an isometric type of exercise. When you squeeze the muscle and hold it, even something as simple as that, you can do that at home in the privacy. Use a mirror if you need, but out in public you might not want to be doing that. But at home, that could be another little feature that you add in there as well. So breakfast, hopefully you can do shorter. The thing is to try to do it regularly. Now, obviously, lunch might be a little bigger meal. That's where, if you can get to the 10 minutes of walking, would be awesome. Can you take a walk at lunchtime at work? If not, remember your soleus muscle in your calves, near your calves, where you can do your heel raises and calf raises. Can you do some air squats? Can you march in place, swinging your arms a little bit? The whole idea is to keep the movement going. And again, shortly after eating is relatively as soon as possible is ideal and going to have the biggest bang for your buck. I had a video recently talking about Japanese walking. Maybe we can incorporate that, or another way is it's interval walking training, where you walk 3 minutes normal, walk 3 minutes at a fast pace, and do multiple sets of that. You can incorporate that in there as well. Then when it comes to dinner, it's generally and usually for most people the biggest meal of the day. I'm not encouraging that, but that's just kind of the facts of how we live and how most people live. But it's not only the biggest, but sometimes probably the unhealthiest at times too. If it's not, congratulations and keep it going if you're doing excellent with that. But this is definitely where you definitely want the 10 minutes, maybe 12 or 15, because we're consuming so much, and we might need a little more. So again, that's where we can incorporate 10 minutes doing the IWT walking, Japanese walking, do the muscle contractions, maybe 2 or 3 sets of wall squats, and other little movements. It's not talked about much, but maybe you have a dumbbell and you do some light curls, maybe some push-ups, but doing all of them as much as you can. Like I said, 10 to 15 minutes for that meal might be the best. So look at it this way: breakfast 5, lunch 10, dinner 10 to 15. And again, we can't always be optimal. If you do something shorter, hopefully wherever you are, you can be sitting and do the calf raises, so, or the heel raises, so that your soleus muscle is incorporated. So again, it's something relatively easy. It's science-based. Studies have shown the benefits of doing these things. And again, we don't want to go down that road where it comes to being pre-diabetic or diabetic. We would like to stop that way ahead of time. Obviously, we want to eat healthy. That's going to help a lot. But just doing these simple things after meals, make it part of your lifestyle, part of your life. Again, you're not going to be perfect, but the best you can do in keeping it regular is going to go a long way and be powerful. And remember that muscle is your biggest glucose sink. So at other times of the day and week, you want to incorporate strength training, weightlifting to build some muscle, and that's going to go a long way in helping that as well. So I appreciate you watching. I hope you appreciate these tips. Please like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon. Remember to exert yourself, elevate your health, and evolve in mind and body. Take care.